The world is on the cusp of a historic transition. It is transiting from a declining Western-dominated global order to an emerging multipolar order, which is perhaps more democratic. At the heart of the transition is a battle of ideas between hegemony and multipolarity. An assertive China is leading the global South in challenging hegemony, the hegemonic theory, and championing the reform of the global governance system. Since the opening up in the 1980s and 1990s, China has leveraged new technologies to become a major global power with the world's second largest economy and a world-class military. China is now leading the South in a multi-pronged strategy to transform and democratize global governance. Its leadership is benefiting from what the 2024 two-sessions parliamentary meetings are billed as, quote, new quality productive forces, that is, new energy, high-tech, manufacturing, and artificial intelligence, which are spanning growth and development. Distinguished guests, conceptually, the push for the reform of the existing global governance system is challenging the flawed thinking that the world must have a hegemonic power with unsurpassed military, political, and economic prowess to underwrite global peace and harmony. After the Second World War, the United States-led West imposed a hegemonic victor's order over the rest of the world. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, and other post-war institutions of global governance are neither inclusive nor democratic. As a result, a handful of powers, mainly Western, are on the table, while the rest of the developing countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America are on the menu. The transition to an equal, inclusive, and orderly multipolar world is the most crucial global agenda today. This will provide all states the right, equality, rule of law, and opportunities in global governance. Multipolarity is more about recognizing the value of unity in diversity and less about creating multiple blocks, disarray, fragmentation, and balkanization. Ladies and gentlemen, multipolarity means 5 interrelated transformations of our world. First, multipolarity is about democratizing global governance. The existing global governance system has a glaring democracy deficit. The three distinct ways of democratization that Samuel Huntington described so eloquently never translated into global democracy. On the global landscape, states have continued to wield unequal powers. Despite this, a democratic global governance is not a pipe dream. A multipolar world means building consensus and harmony, fair and just rules, and equality and greater interdependence among member states. As Chinese Foreign Minister Mwangi recently observed, quote, an equal multipolar world means equal rights, equal opportunities, and equal rules for every nation, close quotes. In a multipolar world, might is not right, and countries are not grouped according to their strength. Instead, states uphold the universality, recognized basic norms governing international relations, and observe the principles of the United Nations Charter. Distinguished guests, the multipolarity means championing economic globalization. A multipolar world means inclusive globalization and economic democratization. Casting the post-war hegemonic world, globalization created inequalities in power and resources. In a multipolar world, economic globalization will be universal, inclusive, and beneficial to all. By growing the economic pie and sharing it fairly and justly, inclusive and beneficial to all. By growing the just inclusive globalization will reduce poverty, inequalities, and imbalances. A multipolar world will help counter unilateralism, protectionism, isolationism, and other anti-globalization trends. The rise of new productive forces is everywhere spurring high-quality growth and boosting inclusive globalization. It is also repositioning the South as the leading force for good in global economy and governance. China has emerged as the leading nation in science and technological innovations in the world. China, a champion of multipolar order, is the world's leading producer and user of solar photovoltaic panels, among other clean and green energy products. As such, it is a world's factory contributing to more than 30% of the global economy and more than global growth than all the G7 countries combined. China is providing global public goods to cushion the global economy from shocks and stress and to support developing countries. It is also supporting countries of the global South to chart their independent paths to modernization, suitable to their specific national and regional contexts. Ladies and gentlemen, multipolarity is also about reforming existing multilateral institutions to make them more inclusive and democratic. Existing global institutions such as the World Bank and IMF should never be used again to impose a one-shoe-fits-all model of development onto the whole world. Instead, multilateralism should help sustain rule-based global order. Multipolarity means the inclusion of the South in global policymaking. The existing global governance system controls and affects the South. The all subject and the all affected principles require that the South is fairly and justly on the table of the global governance, not on the menu. 2024 is a make or break year. As China's two sessions, primary session, rightly observed, it is, I quote, a year of harvest for the global South and a shining South moment in global governance. 4, multipolarity means strengthening emerging institutions of the global South. The South should not stop at reforming existing global institutions. Expanding and strengthening the multilateral organizations in the South is equally important in the regional and global governance. The BRICS, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and other countries that have been included, has become a bold and round voice for the South and a new force for global justice, peace, harmony, and inclusive economic globalization. In this context, multilateral initiatives by the global South should be seen as strengthening rather than competing with the existing international institutions. In the post-COVID era, China has proposed 3 initiatives in support of global economic stability, peace, and harmony. The first is the Global Development Initiative to help the global community and the United Nations to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Similarly, the Global Security Initiative has advanced the cost of global stability and addressed common security challenges. Finally, China's Global Civilizational Initiative is enhancing unity in diversity among human civilizations. Ladies and gentlemen, multipolarity means deepening the institutions of China-Africa cooperation in development. Africa is a strong voice for the reform of global institutions to create an equal and orderly multipolar world. It is also a major prompter of the multilateral institutions of the Global South, such as the BRICS. Over the last 2 decades, an effective architecture of China-Africa cooperation has emerged. This year, African countries and organizations will join China in the triennial summit of the Forum for China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, in Beijing. Notably, FOCAC is rooted in a long tradition of Sino-Africa partnership defined by cooperation, equality, mutual respect, and solidarity. Between 2000 and 2018, China channeled an estimated $200 billion to support African development and the continent's inclusion into the global market. That's way, way higher than the Marshall Plan. Africa is also participating in the Belt and Road Initiative launched in 2013. Today, 52 out of 55 African Union member states have signed a memorandum of understanding with China to participate in BRI. As a result, once dismissed by investors as a hopeless continent, Africa is today a hopeful continent on the rise and charting its own independent path to modernization. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, China-Africa cooperation in the new quality productive forces is crucial to Africa's successful integration into the global economy and governance. The rise of new productive forces not only signal a major shift in Chinese economic thought, but also a people-centered and green development to secure our prosperity and our planet. As Africa and China embark on the road to Beijing for the FOCAC summit, the paradigm of new productive forces is set to accelerate high-quality implementation of African Agenda 2063. It will also propel Africa's effort to realize its continental free trade area, the single largest market bloc in the world today. Strategic Sino-Africa partnership on the new productive forces will help break the poverty trap in Africa and enhance its inclusion in global governance. The future of Sino-Africa cooperation in the multipolar world looks bright, very bright. Thank you, Excellencies, friends, ladies and gentlemen.